great time. Hi to everybody there, if you're listening anyway.
Thanks, Nick. You're awesome.
Defenders of the Realm is a Pandemic-style cooperative game with a greater deal of complexity than Pandemic, and a high fantasy classic D&D theme. And it is just a ton of fun. It is one of the best times I've had board gaming in a very long time.
Told you.
No one disagreed.
Yeah, you're a little iffy about it.
Yeah, if only because only one of us had played the game and it made it to number 2.
That's how good the game is. It doesn't even. The game is so good. No one even needs to play it.
I agree now. I agree. I played it. I loved it.
All right, Daniel. We kind of jumped in there.
Not at all. We all played it together, and I think we all had a pretty fantastic time. We got our asses kicked by the game, and we had a fantastic time.
I got my ass kicked by the game.
That's true.
Anthony got all of our asses kicked by the game.
Aww.
I did lose the game for everybody.
Anthony, come on, man. Come on. No, but, even losing pretty badly, it was a very, very fun game. And that, for me, is the hallmark of a good game, right? If it's fun even when you're losing. And it was so fun that I actually didn't even feel like a loss to me at the end. It was like, oh, well, I guess the game's over now. But I didn't feel like I lost or got beaten. It's just, it just ended in an undesirable way.
Another thing in its favor is it makes one think of another game. Very similar. And any time that the game you're comparing it to is Pandemic, it's a good game. It's a fantasy game, pretty much in the order of Pandemic. Very similar. Should Matt Laycock sue? It's really similar. But.
You said that as he was teaching the rules, the first 5 or 10 minutes, because it's got that one mechanic where minions come onto the board, and if there's too many in a space, it spreads. So the second you see that, you're like, Pandemic. It's Pandemic. It's the exact same thing as Pandemic.
I've seen this before.
But then you get into the next 20 minutes of the rules, and you're like, it's Pandemic plus 500 other things. So it's fine. This guy's fine.
A lot of layers of complexity. We talked about adding complexity to Clue. Well, this adds levels of complexity to Pandemic. So much so that the problem of the alpha player is eliminated. In games of Pandemic, you're sometimes going to have one guy telling everybody else what to do. You can't do that. There's no way. You can barely keep a grip on your own character and what he's got going on. So the need for cooperation here is so much greater. Everybody's got to get a grip on what they're doing and work together closely.
What I really like about the game is, we talked about Pandemic. This is better than Pandemic.
Yeah.
And especially because in Pandemic, you're taking an action to do something to clean up the virus, but here you're fighting minions, and you do have to roll dice in order to be successful. And depending on the type of minion, you have to roll a certain number or better. That's so much fun. It's not like a foregone conclusion. And like Drew was saying about the alpha player, if it is a puzzle, even Pandemic can be alpha playered because there are certain things you need to do. It's obvious. There's some randomness, so it does add some possibility to it. But you have the possibility of winning a battle, even if you're completely outnumbered, or conversely, you could be, you could have everything that you need and not and roll so badly throughout the battle, which could happen that you would get wiped out. So there's so much possibility. Each of the heroes plays uniquely different, which is so much fun. When you're playing the wizard, he plays like the wizard. When you're playing the rogue, plays like the rogue. And, and it's not that type of game where if you don't play a certain class or a certain number of classes, because this game comes with a number of different classes, and the expansion has more classes and so on and so forth, but you can really play pretty much whatever you want and still have a really good chance to victory. I don't think any of our classes really let us down in the game.
No. You mentioned the randomness. I don't want to scare anybody off because of that. There is some randomness, but there's a lot you can do during the course of the game to improve the odds, whether it's through cooperation or going on quests to get certain powers or amulets or things. But of course, every time you go on a quest to try to improve your strength, you're not fighting the enemy, and you're not helping out your buddies. So there's a real fine line of improving yourself and helping.
It's just really cool how it manages to bring in that stand-up dice throwing moment where everybody's waiting on the one roll, and multiple times we erupted in cheering, which I am generally annoyed when people do that in gaming stores, and I was among the cheering because it was that tense. It was awesome.
And when was the last time you had that kind of emotional reaction to a game where it's just like a dice roll and everyone just erupted?
Yeah, and a lot of co-op games, if you win it, everybody cheers.
Yeah.
But it's a puzzle, and it's usually alpha gamed, and honestly, I don't like a lot of co-ops for that reason.
Everyone is invested in this game.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I know why it's on your acquisition disorder list. It's almost on mine, honestly.
I mean, its only weak points to me are it's very expensive. It runs $80 to $90 depending on where you can find it. Of course, if you find it on sale for less than that, you should probably make a move.
And to be fair, it's a big game.
Oh, it is. You get a lot for
You're
it.
getting a huge board, you're getting a number of miniatures in the game, you're getting numerous decks, and the mechanics are great by Richard Lanius.
We saw the expansion also, so
Yes.
that made it even bigger.
Well, yeah, there's the Dragon expansion, too, that's already out, and that replaces the general with 4 dragons and some additional complexity and some actual kind of missions to go on. But there are also 3 hero expansions where you can actually add more heroes to the game. And I love this game so much, I picked up the base game, the heroes, and the dragons.
All right.
So we're going to play it again because Chris has it.
Yes.
And
And
Daniel will probably have it someday, and then probably I'll get it too because he's got miniatures. So
Painting party. The only other weakness of this game, though, for me, is it's very complex, which is also its strength. So the one place it's going to lose to Pandemic is I would never, ever bring this one out to get a new gamer into the hobby. I feel like unless they, I mean, if they play D&D or anything like that, if they were a gamer somewhere, you could bring them in here. But if they didn't have a gaming background, it would be absolutely overwhelming.
If you had somebody who loved Pandemic and played it over and over again, and each time we played it more difficult settings, made it more of a challenge, but they felt like they want something more, do you think Defenders of the Realm is a good link, or is it too much of a jump beyond Pandemic?
I think it's a good move from casual, even though it's not really a term I like, but from people who play hobby games infrequently and mostly on the lighter end into the deeper end
Fantasy.
of the hobby. It's on the deeper end. I mean, it's not Warhammer 40k deeper end, but it's on the deeper end of the hobby.
So can you make the jump directly, or do you need an in-between game to...
I almost want to say you need an in-between game, but I can't think of a good one.
I mean, to be fair, you get your hero. Typically, he has 3 or 4 powers, and the powers aren't that complex. They usually are based upon something that's thematic to the class, but also plays a role in the game. And your life counters are your actions. So you flip one, you move a space, or you do whatever the special abilities, you flip one, so forth and so on. I don't think the game is that complex, but I hear what you're saying, Daniel. You should have some hobby gaming type of experience to really get the most out of this, because it's not mathematical or kind of puzzly where, like Pandemic, you just, oh, this is exploding, I need to go here. Yeah. But even during the game, having the generals starting to march on, you know, the city is just amazing. You're like, uh-oh, we're really in trouble here.
I think if you've played Pandemic on a harder mode or with a couple of the expansions thrown in, you'd be ready to move up. And I think if you'd played Flashpoint, with some of the expert rules, the ones where you have the hotspots and all of that, you're clearly capable of handling the kind of complexity you'll find here.
But to be fair, for me, I love this. I only kind of like Pandemic. Pandemic it just kind of lets me down a little bit. But I do absolutely agree with Flashpoint probably being a closer connection with that, because it does have more thematic roles and kind of character play.
Well, and I think it's definitely a better game than Pandemic.
Yeah.
But I also think that Pandemic would give you the basic skill set you need to move up.
Sure.
You can teach Pandemic in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a very easy to learn game, and it's a good way to hook your friends who aren't gamers. Oh, let's play Pandemic, and they're like, oh, I really liked that one. Then, a few weeks down the road, you pull out Defenders of the Realm. Oh, it's like Pandemic. You'll love it.
And they're like, that's a lot of stuff.
All right, so is this a buy, a play, a dodge, or a dreaded burn?
It is definitely, at the very least, a play. I want to buy it. I need more money first, but then I would like to buy it.
Is there a certain price point you'd pick this up at?
I think if I saw it 70 or under, I'd be fighting my urge to purchase very, very strongly. It'd be difficult to stop myself there. even at normal price point, it's kind of hard to hold back.
All right, so for this last game, we're going to introduce kind of a new, not feature, but kind of like a corner of our At the Table segment. Every week now, we're going to try to put the spotlight on a game that is not necessarily new, not necessarily even in print,